Hi, this is Ned Siegfried from Siegfried & Jensen. As proud sponsors of BeliefCast, we hope you are inspired by Todd's weekly podcasts, which contain so many courageous stories of recovery and personal growth. Remember, it's not what happened in the past that matters, it's what happens in the future. We invite you all to work hard and be optimistic about your future. Enjoy today's podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Inspires BeliefCast. Thank you once again for tuning in. I love you guys for all your support. I'd love to give a shout out to our sponsors, Siegfried & Jensen, Wasatch Recovery, iHill Institute, and Veracity Networks. You guys are fantastic, and the belief and support you have in this is so amazing. So thank you so much. And I also like to just give a shout out to our previous guests. The reason why we're trending and we are ranked, 150 in the world in mental health is because of the amazing guests I've had on the show. And today's going to be no different. Today we're joined by Debra Bonner. Debra, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, man, you guys are going to love her. A little background on Debra. Debra is a master transformational vocal coach. Debra has taught women who have been suffering from anxiety, depression, and low self-worth. Debra trained classically from the age of 13 until she graduated from the University of Michigan with a master's in vocal performance. For decades, Debra trained with and was an associate of Seth Rogen and Richard Miller.
Seth Riggs.
Oh, did I say that wrong? Yes. Yeah, we said that wrong.
That's
Seth
all
Riggs and Richard Miller, two of the top vocal proteges of the 20th and 21st century. Debra has found as a vocal coach that most importantly, it's about finding your true, authentic voice. Mm-hmm. And she has a website called yourtruevoice.com. And we're going to just get into her story. This is going to be so cool. I'm so excited to have her on. So Debra, why don't we start? Why don't you let our listeners know, where did you grow up, and tell us a little bit about your family?
I grew up in Flint, Michigan, and I was born in Louisiana.
Oh, okay.
But this was at a time when people were moving from the south to the north.
Okay.
For industry,
Oh, yeah.
a car industry.
Right.
And so Flint, in fact, Flint, Michigan was the first, that's where the first vehicle was built, in Flint.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Michigan.
wow. Okay. So how old were you when you guys moved up there?
I was 9 months old.
Oh, so you don't really remember Louisiana at that time.
No, no, nothing about Louisiana.
Yeah. So brothers and sisters?
I have 3 brothers. I had 3 brothers and 1 sister.
Okay.
And all who have since deceased.
Oh, they've all passed.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And
do you mind telling us what happened there? Or?
Well, I think it's probably a lot of it is the nature of where we were raised,
okay,
where we grew up. Now, when I was small, Flint was booming, the car industry. Mm-hmm. Everybody had jobs.
Right.
Just about everybody had mom and dads. It was a, very happy childhood. And there were, black people lived on one side of town and white people lived on the other side of town.
Yeah.
So segregation, I remember there were at times even clans walking down the main street, so, right there in Flint, Michigan in the north.
Right there, yeah.
So so I grew up, during the 60s and, Dr. Martin Luther King and civil rights and all that. And my father was an activist, and
okay.
My pastor was probably the most prominent pastor in the community.
Really?
So he and eventually became the president of the Sunday school for the Black Missionary Baptist churches all over the United States.
That's amazing.
So gospel music was strong.
Yeah.
And I sang in the choir. So, I must say I had learning disabilities growing up, and I was a special ed child.
Okay.
And so it was hard for me to retain. So at the age of 13, I couldn't even read. I couldn't remember whatever they were teaching me. S.
Right.
They come back to me. I don't remember
You
what
don't
it was. I
remember
couldn't
it.
remember.
So you weren't. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was probably pretty frustrated.
Yeah, I was going to ask,
school.
how did that affect kind of like your mental status at the time? Were you sad, depressed about that kind of stuff?
No, I never
or?
was sad or depressed.
Okay.
My parents always taught us that you are as good as anybody. So I
Wow.
believe that. So
Yeah.
I was always happy about who I am.
Really? Okay.
Even though I was deemed mildly retarded.
Really?
I was considered mildly retarded. But it didn't affect me
Didn't even affect you.
terms, yeah. I mean, I was
Wow.
like, I felt good about who I was.
Yeah.
That I was as good as anybody.
Wow. How great are your parents to do that, though? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, what a
But
beautiful thing for them.
And I think a lot of it had to do with because we were black
Mm-hmm.
and because of discrimination.
Yeah.
They wanted us to know that we had worth
Yeah.
and that we were important and as
Yeah.
good as anybody.
Wow. That's awesome.
And so that stuck with me. Now, I don't know if it stuck with my siblings,
Okay.
but it did stick with me. And I would fight every day as in elementary school. And I would fight because I was always taking up for kids that were being picked on.
Okay.
So if I saw someone picking on someone, I'd jump in it.
Right.
And I said, no, why don't you hit me or why don't you deal with me? And most of them were boys,
Right.
And so when I would wear shorts under my skirt going to school every day because I knew I would have to fight somebody.
Wow. Really?
And so it gotten to a point where it was, like the gunslingers,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
somebody want to see if they can beat you. It was like that. It had become
Wow.
like that. And so when I would go home, there were like at least 100 kids following me home because they knew there was going to be a fight.
Oh my! Really?
And they wanted to see it. So it became a sport.
Oh wow!
And so I did. Usually I'd win.
And this is in elementary school.
This is elementary school. So it was pretty safe.
Were
it
you-
was more
were-
like a wrestle.
Right? Were you scared?
No.
You just
No.
had this
I just
mentality.
knew.
I'm gonna help those that are being picked on.
Right.
Wow.
And then it got to where that was what I did. I fought every day. And kids get a chance to see a good fight. And the way you'd win is you'd pin them down, and if they say I give, you win.
Then you win. Yeah.
And so usually I
you
became
would-
pretty good at
You
it.
were good at it.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, how lucky for those kids being picked on that they had you to help stick up for them.
Well,
Right? That's amazing, though. I think that's really cool.
Well, I think that has become maybe that's who I always was, and I'm still that way.
Yeah.
I care about the downtrodden and those who are suffering and those who are struggling. So
Yeah.
that's who I am.
Just I mean, especially if you were doing it at that age, you know.
Yeah.
Were you ever like picked on or bullied
No.
yourself?
No, I never felt.
I want to go back. You mentioned something, and if it's okay for me to ask this, you mentioned that at times the Klan would be marching down the street.
Yeah.
And now, as a kid, was that a scary moment for you as well?
I think our parents would take us inside.
Right.
We'd be inside.
But
So
I mean, as a kid, were you
as a
going,
kid,
"Man."
I never thought about it.
Okay.
And it was down the main street.
Oh, gotcha.
So it
Okay.
wasn't like in my neighborhood.
Okay.
It was like,
But still, they were there. And,
yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
And so my dad fought for civil rights and for justice, and
Yeah.
even in the car industry,
Yeah.
that people were being treated fairly. And he was on a board called Model Cities in Flint. They were
Okay.
going to, remodel Flint and redo Flint, and so he was very active
Yeah.
in social
Wow.
settings, and so was my pastor. My pastor was like the main pastor,
Right.
that everybody looked up to.
So faith was a big part of your upbringing.
Yes,
Yeah.
now. At 13, I couldn't read, right?
Okay.
So there was a girl who came. Well, she came from the south and came up north to Flint, Michigan. And she was tall, and she had lots of braids on her hair. And every braid had a little different color bow on it.
Okay.
And I guess that's how they lived
Yeah.
in Mississippi. That's what they did. And the kids teased her. And of course,
there you are.
There I am. And she was at least a foot taller than me. She was a tall girl, big girl, but she wouldn't fight. And she would just cry.
Mm.
And so I took it forward. I said, why don't you just grab them? You can grab them and just sit on them.
Right, yeah.
And she said, I can't. My friend wouldn't like it. I said, your friend? I admired her so much because I knew she could beat them if she fought them.
Right, yeah.
But she wouldn't do it. And so, and I didn't have the strength not to fight. So it wasn't about me being afraid to fight.
Right.
It was harder for me not to fight.
Right.
So I admired her.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know who her friend was. And she said she'd take me to his house. So one Sunday she took me to his house. And it was a church building.
Oh.
And her best friend was Jesus.
Wow.
And that's how I came to know Jesus Christ.
Are you serious?
Yes.
What a story.
And she sang in the choir, and her voice was beautiful. It was glorious. And I thought, oh, if I could just sing, if I could just have a voice, if I could have a voice like that. And so I prayed, and I was 12 at the time.
Yeah.
She was 13. You had to be 13 to be in the choir.
Okay.
So I had to wait a year.
Oh, wow.
So I would go to church every Sunday and hear them sing. And then I would sing from the hymnal in the congregation, and that's how I learned how to read.
Oh, wow.
I learned how to read
Okay.
by singing the hymns.
Okay.
So it was the Spirit
Yeah.
coming to know Jesus Christ and feeling the Spirit and getting to know him personally as my best friend.
Yeah.
I was able to talk to him. He would talk to me, and he would teach me. And I learned how to read through singing the hymns.
That is amazing.
And so he just expanded my mind. So in school, I was beginning to understand concepts, even complex thoughts. And
Right.
I love I think they had, what was it called? It wasn't called psychology. It was called philosophy. Philosophy.
Okay.
And I just I can say this, that by the time I graduated my IQ was a 30. I mean, no, it was a 90. And I guess that's borderline.
Okay. Yeah.
And they would let my mom and me know what my situation was. And so by the time I got out of junior high school, it jumped to 135.
Wow.
And I started doing better. I was doing better in
That's
classes.
a big jump.
It was a big jump.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what it was by the time I graduated from high school, but I graduated with honors.
Oh, man.
Got scholarships from Indiana University, University of Michigan, a lot of the big schools, and the Lord gave me a voice.
Boy, did he ever, by the
And
way.
I said, if you give me a voice, I won't fight anymore. I will never fight again.
Man.
And I never fought again.
Really?
And the church, when I joined the choir at 13, the church saw something in me. And I was like an orphan kid.
Okay.
Because this was a church where families went to church. And I was the only one in my family to go.
Okay.
And so people just took me under their wing. They nurtured me and loved me.
Yeah.
And the church paid for my voice lessons from the age of 13 until I graduated from high school at 18.
Really? That is amazing.
And I took voice lessons twice a week, every week. And they sought after the best voice teacher they could find. And evidently, it was a great voice teacher because I remember with Nats, that's an organization of voice teachers.
Okay.
And they would have regional competitions and state competitions. And so I competed in a tri-state.
Okay.
It was Ohio, Indiana, and Michigan. And I was among the top 2 voices out of those 3 states.
Wow, that is
And that was
amazing.
because of that teacher.
Wow.
And being trained, of course, classically.
Yeah.
You had to be trained because at the
Yeah.
time when you're training in voice, they train you classically.
Okay.
But by the time I graduated from high school, when I used to sing gospel, and I love singing gospel, by the time I graduated, I couldn't sing gospel.
Right.
I could only sing opera.
Really?
Classical. My Aretha Franklin sounded classical. Everything
Yeah.
sounded classical. I
Yeah,
thought,
right.
oh my gosh. but nevertheless,
Well, I want to point out,
Okay.
this is so beautiful. Thank
Oh.
you. I mean, I'm getting emotional as you're sharing this story. You know, it really is because of the girl who said, I'm not going to do anything because of my friend.
right.
I mean, think about how that one little conversation for you, you're like, well, who's that?
Right.
How that changed the course
That changed my
of
total
your
course.
life. I mean, really.
yeah.
I mean, that's why I was getting so emotional. I'm like, I'm connecting these dots here as you're sharing your story, and I'm going, are you kidding me?
Right.
This is unbelievable.
Yes. And so I live by the promptings of the Spirit.
Wow.
So if when I am centered, and that's what I would say to people. Now, some people don't believe in God. I do,
Yeah.
and because I do, my life changed.
Mm-hmm.
And because I do, I have joy.
Yeah.
I'm never depressed. I never feel depressed. I do have joy. And it's because I align my will with that of my Savior.
Yeah.
So whatever He wants me to do, that's what I want to do.
Yeah. Wow.
And it's a choice.
Yeah.
And so if I'm doing His will, He opens the doors for me. He makes sure that I'm able to accomplish my goals.
Yeah. Wow. Well, and just like you said, as you were singing these gospel hymns, you learned to read.
Right.
It expanded your mind. You
Right.
started understanding things that you never understood before. And,
Right.
I mean, it just started to expand as you continue.
Mhm.
And I mean, I'm feeling it as you're saying this. Like I
Mhm.
feel that love and that
Mhm.
spirit. I mean, I feel it.
Yes.
Yeah. It's undeniable. And I'm sorry, listeners, I get to sit here in front of her face to face and
Oh.
feel this. And I'm hoping you're feeling this as she's sharing this with you guys, because this is so beautiful.
Well, I met a young man in college, and we were just friends. And I talked to the Lord, and I said, I'm ready to get married. You know, I was getting my master's degree,
Mm-hmm.
and I was dating several guys at the time. And I scheduled everything, and I scheduled my boyfriends when this one would take me to breakfast, this one would take me to lunch, this would take me to a movie, and I want to go to that musical on Saturday, so this one will take me to that. And I just scheduled them like I scheduled my schoolwork.
Right. Yeah.
And
I love it.
and then the Spirit said I had to get rid of all 7 boyfriends, and that was difficult.
You're like, what?
Yeah. But I did. I called them. I had to call them on the phone. I couldn't. And some of them were in tears, like, why?
Yeah.
And 3 of the 7 wanted to marry me, in fact.
Wow.
And so they was like, what did I do? I said, nothing. It's me.
Yeah.
You know.
Right. Yeah.
But I did. And within the week, I talked with a friend who was getting her doctorate degree. And I said, I want to get married. And I wrote down all the qualities I wanted. And she looked at, and she says, Debra, ain't none. That's what she said. Ain't none. They don't exist.
Oh, are you serious?
And after I had gotten rid of all these guys, I was coming off the bus, going to a class, and a guy that was on the bus, it was in the winter and the snow, and he was helping all the girls get off the bus. And he had the most beautiful smile.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Like, who's that guy?
And yeah.
Yeah.
And I walked away, and then I turned back around, and when I turned around, he turned around. And I was embarrassed and kept
Right.
walking.
Yeah, he caught me looking. Yeah.
And so it just so happened we were starting our new classes. He happened to be in my class. Now, there are thousands
Right.
at the University of Michigan.
Thousands.
And
and
he
thousands.
happened to be in my class.
Man.
And I didn't think really that much of it. And then we had this big trip, and we went on this big trip together, an arts trip on the van, and he sat next to me. 8 hours to another university. I think we went to Purdue, and we went somewhere else. That week,
Right.
we came back, so we had hours of talking.
Yeah.
And so we became good friends. He would take me to breakfast every morning,
Mm-hmm.
and that was great.
Yeah.
And then he asked me to marry him, and he said, I think had the audacity to say now or never. And I said,
Really?
what? And in my head, it was like,
Yeah.
never. Are you crazy? And then the Spirit spoke to me and said, you told me to choose your mate. And I thought, okay, well, can we pray about it? At the time, he didn't believe in God anymore. He, at one time, had believed in God.
Okay.
He went to Oberlin College and got an edumacation.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And so he stopped believing in God. And I told him, that I said, we have to pray about it. And he knelt in prayer with me. And then the
Right
Spirit,
then and there?
Right then and there. And the Spirit said, this gift I give to you for eternity. I went, whoa, eternity? I mean, I've heard of death do you part.
Yeah, right.
Never
eternity. You're like,
and I thought, well, so I guess I'm supposed to marry him. I'd only known him for 2 months. And I said, okay. I said, when do you want to get married?
are you serious?
And he said, 2 weeks.
Oh, man.
And we were married in 2 weeks.
Oh, that is incredible.
And that's who I'm married to today. And we have 8 wonderful children.
8 children. So his name is Harry.
Harry.
I just got to meet him just before we started.
Yeah.
An amazing man, very polite, kind.
Yeah, very kind.
That same guy that's helping people off the bus that you saw that were helping or on the bus or either way. Yeah, very. You can tell he's got a great heart.
He does.
Yeah.
And he totally supports me.
That's awesome.
And so 3 months after we were married, we went to Africa as Baptist missionaries.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
So that totally changed my life. I mean, I knew the Savior, but living in the village with the people, sleeping in the mud houses with them, taking baths in the creek with them, helping them till their fields, they showed us how to live a Christ-like life.
Really?
We read the scriptures, we taught them, but they were already living it.
Yeah, they were living it.
They were living it, and they showed us how.
I've heard that before, that these poor kids in Africa are like the happiest kids on the planet.
Yeah.
Like they just are.
Yeah, just because they know who they are. They have their voice.
Boy, you just gave me
They're
chills with that
centered.
one.
They're one. They're whole. They're complete.
Wow.
So teaching them about Jesus, it was like, wow, this is nothing new to them.
Yeah.
The life of Christ. And what he teaches is what they believe already. That's why when missionaries go to Africa, they join in droves because they're already in tune. They already live it.
Yeah, like, it just matches up with them, with what they're already doing.
What they already know, yeah.
Man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
How long were you guys there?
19 months.
Okay.
Until the Spirit told me to resign.
It's time to move on and do your next.
But we thought we were going to live there forever.
Yeah.
And so it was very difficult.
Yeah.
There are 2 things that was the most difficult thing that ever happened to me was after I had decided I would never fight again and that I would follow the Lord and listen and be obedient. I was at a choir rehearsal, and they knew me as a little bad kid. right? Because I have
Girl
this
who was
reputation.
fighting all the time.
Yeah. And there's another girl that was a little bad girl who from the other side of town. And she was getting jealous because I was getting solos.
Oh.
And so I heard her talking to somebody in front of me. And I went, and all of a sudden I just,
Really?
I just got hot. It was like it used to be when I used to fight. And
Yeah.
everything started going black, and all you see is the person.
Yeah, you just
Yeah,
laser focus.
it was like destroy, you
Yeah.
know. And
I can't picture you like that.
yeah. And so I was real, and I said, and I calmed myself, and I said to her, "Don't use my name in vain." That's what I said to her.
Wow.
And she got up, put her hands on her hip, turned around, and said, "No one's talking about you, and if you say another word, I'm gonna knock you through the wall."
Whoa.
Everybody in the choir went, "Ooh, it's on,"
Yeah.
because these are two bad girls, right?
Yeah.
And it took everything within me
Yeah.
not to grab that girl.
Yeah.
I stood there, and my body shook, and tears streamed down my face. And then I sat down because I promised the Lord. I loved him so much because of all that he had given me,
Yeah.
and the joy that I had felt because of him, that I would not break that promise I made to him. Wow. And that was the hardest thing
I bet.
I ever did.
I bet it
was
was.
not to fight. And I was probably about 14.
Right.
Which I was about a year in.
But to do that at 14,
Yeah.
that's pretty incredible.
And guess what she did? After choir was over, she came up to me and she said, "I was talking about you. I'm sorry."
Wow. So her heart was softened,
Mm-hmm.
and so was yours.
Yes.
What a beautiful experience.
Yeah. I still remember her name. Denise Nichols was her name.
Denise, we love you. If you're listening to this, just so you know, no more fighting.
Yes.
Right?
And then
That's incredible.
the hardest thing that ever did
Yeah, please.
was when the Spirit said, "Resign from that mission."
Mm.
We loved the people loved us.
Yeah, right.
And so we had to resign, and we
Yeah.
came back home.
Came back home.
And it was difficult, too, because we were representing the Missionary Baptist Church of the United States.
Yeah.
There were like only 12 missionaries and 4 million people who supported us.
Jeez.
It's like in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, if an apostle said, "I'm resigning,"
Right.
that would be
That's-
very difficult.
Yeah,
right?
it'd be like, whoa, what?
Well, what happened? Why?
Exactly, yeah.
What did you do wrong? You
Mhm.
can't do this.
Yeah.
You gotta shake our church.
Yeah.
But we had to do it.
Wow. Incredible story, man. And you have 8 kids now.
Mm-hmm. We had one child that was born in Africa.
Okay.
Yeah, because we were there for 19 months.
For 19 months. Wow, that's
Yeah,
neat.
she had turned a year.
That's neat. Well, it's amazing how you let faith and the Spirit and love, compassion, all of those beautiful traits and qualities guide your life,
Yeah.
And I go back. I seriously, I keep going back to that girl saying, "I'm not going to because of my friend."
Right.
I mean,
You know,
it just blows my mind.
someone said to me this week, because I'm teaching a emotional resilience class. I'm a facilitator for
Yeah.
an emotional resilience class,
Great.
and we were talking about the Savior and following in His way, and she said, "Well, that could take years. I mean, or months. It could take forever, or it could be, eternity."
Yeah.
And I said, "No, you can decide today.
Yeah.
You can make that decision. And when you make a decision to do the right thing, it may be very, very difficult, almost impossible seemingly.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do it, the next decision is easier.
Yeah.
And the next one is easier.
That's a good point.
And the next one is easier."
Yeah. Yeah.
To
For sure.
and because of my love for the Savior and what He's done for not only me, but for all of us
Right.
I owe him everything.
Mm.
So I don't want to disappoint him.
Yeah.
So I do because I love.
Yep.
Because I love him.
Yeah.
And I think when we can make good decisions, make decisions that, well, of course, Christ was all about good and positive.
For sure.
And if we can make that decision, we can make that decision today.
Yeah. Right.
And it doesn't mean that you don't fall back or you don't, but you just get right back up on that horse.
Yeah.
That's all.
That's it.
You just get back on the horse.
Yeah.
That's why he died. That's why he atoned for our sins. Right?
Yeah.
I didn't think I would be talking about all that.
No, I asked the
But-
question.
Okay.
So this is great. I'm so
Okay.
glad you shared this.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's beautiful.
So teaching voice.
That was the next thing I wanted to get into. I have it on here. You're a master transformational vocal coach.
Vocal coach.
How did that come about? And yeah, let's.
Okay. Well, I had great training from the age of 13.
Yeah.
And then went on to got my master's from University of Michigan in vocal performance. But I could only sing classical at that point. I couldn't sing pop anymore, or gospel, or. And my husband sought after who's the best voice teacher in the world. And he found this man named Seth Riggs, who was Michael Jackson's voice teacher.
Really?
And he taught, at the time,
That's amazing.
80% of the people who won the Grammys were his students. And he also trained winners, Metropolitan Opera winners. So he was
Man.
considered the best in the
Yeah.
world.
Wow.
I mean, he was definitely the most celebrated voice teacher in the world.
Yeah.
And so he found him, talked to him, and asked him if he would take me.
Okay.
And at that time, I lived in Vegas, and he lived in L.A.
L.A.
So we drove with our little 5 babies, 6 and under, to L.A. for me to take my first lesson.
And he had already agreed.
Yeah, he had agreed to take me.
To take you.
To take.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
I thought, well, I was going to be a superstar, right?
Yeah,
I wanted to be a
right.
superstar and learn how to sing pop again. And he cried. He hugged me and he cried on my shoulder and said, I believe the Lord sent you to me to teach this method. And I thought, because I'm a little feisty, and here's this
Just a
white
little.
man crying on my shoulder. I'm
Yeah.
blowing snot all over the place. I'm like, what is this?
What's going on?
No way. I've been teaching voice for 15 years. I'm not trying to teach voice lessons.
Right.
I want you to make me a star. So I'm like, I'm not coming back. And I left, didn't come back. And then things happened that year.
Mm-hmm.
My husband left his job to become a salesman. Someone told him he could be a salesman. Didn't happen.
Didn't
I mean, he
work.
was trying, but the money wasn't
Sure.
coming.
Yeah.
And so the Spirit told me to go take a lesson with Seth Riggs. Again, I thought, oh, that guy. Oh my gosh, really?
The guy that cried all over me.
Yeah, yeah. And I didn't even have the money to go. But I always taught voice, so I had 2 students,
Okay.
and they were paying $25 a week. So I had $50, which was just enough to fly in LA and come back.
Come back. Wow.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
But the Spirit said, do it. So I did it. We round trip ticket. And there I am in LA, not knowing if this man even would take me, even if he will remember me.
Yeah.
I saw stars walking through the airport. It must have been the Grammys or something, or it must have happened or something. And I'm like, how am I going to get to him? How am I? And I started praying. And I had my planner. And I remember I was in a seminar with an actor. And he lived in L.A. So I didn't even have a dime
Wow.
to make the phone call. But back then, you could do a collect call.
Mm-hmm.
I did a collect call to my husband. And my husband, I think he did a 3-way or something with me and got him on the line. And he said, "Oh, Debra, yes, I remember you. You're going to go see Seth? I'm going to pick you up right now. I'll pick you up from the airport. I'll take you."
Really?
So he came and got me. And I was like, oh, gosh. So I used his phone, called Seth. And Seth said, "Sure, I have 5 o'clock. Come right on." And I was like, okay. And I was thinking, how am I going to pay for it? Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
So I started praying again. And the Spirit spoke to me and said, "Look at my planner." And I saw this attorney's number that was in my church.
Okay.
It was in my ward.
Oh, yeah.
And this guy, he was not a nice guy. He yelled at people. And I was like, oh, my gosh,
Right.
I have to call him. I called him and told him my story, and he yelled at me. Said, "Are you crazy? You have no money, and you expect me to pay for your voice lessons?" And I said, "The Spirit gave me your name. That's okay. Like he gave me your name, he'll give me somebody else's name. Okay, I'll send you the money. I'll wire you the money." And he wired me the money.
Wow.
"How much you need?" And $250 came out of my mouth. I'm like, oh, why did I say that? The guy's only $100. Why did I say $250? But I did $250. And I said, "I'll pay you back next week." And I'm like, why did I say that?
Yeah, how am I going to do that?
How am I going to
Yeah.
pay him back, you know? So I had the money to pay him. Came home. Let people know that I was teaching. I studied with this man, Seth. Now, when I went in there to study with him, I would take the lesson. I was hoping he didn't remember me.
Right.
Because he cried on my shoulder, right? And I didn't come back.
Right.
And the Lord told me to go and study with the man, Seth Riggs. I thought I would go just one time and come home. And after the lesson, I went to open the door, say goodbye, and I put my hand on the doorknob. On the door. And he said, "And Debra?" I turned around. I said, "Yes." "Don't you leave me again." I went, "Oh." I said, "This time next week?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Okay." I went, "Oh, no. I
Yeah.
have to come back." But when I went home, people started calling me out of the woodwork for
Really?
voice lessons. And I had enough money
Wow.
to start paying my bills and to pay for my lesson, to pay for the flight. And it got bigger and bigger and bigger, my business.
Yeah.
But
Wow,
that
is amazing.
and I think that's in listening to the Spirit,
Yeah.
getting to having that personal relationship with the Savior
Mm-hmm.
as a friend,
Yeah.
where he can talk to you and you're obedient.
Yeah.
He may ask you to do some crazy things, which
Yeah.
this is still the story of my life. I'm still doing crazy things,
Yeah.
but I have joy and things are happening. We're renting a big house in Provo we're on the last street on the hill. There's no way I should be able to afford to live there.
Yeah.
I don't own it. We're renting it, and I'm feeling I need to finish their basement, which would cost over $50,000 to finish it.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is not even my house, but that's what I'm feeling from the Spirit,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
that I need the space to heal people.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And she's not giving me any, she said, if you want to do it, you can do it, but your rent is still the same. I'm not going to.
Right. No breaks.
No breaks.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm doing right now. and people, and the Lord has just given me
I love it.
clients to, and this last client was just last week, and I'm like, oh, how am I going to do this? I start praying. I say, Lord, I hope he's a contractor. He wants 2 of his kids to take voice lessons, and they were in American Idol or something, so they really want to do something.
Yeah, right.
And I said, but can he afford it? I don't think he can afford me, because I am $500 an hour. And he said, I said, well, what do you do? He says, I'm a contractor.
You're like,
Whoa. Thank you, Lord.
yeah.
So I have electricians in my house right now. He framed it all up last week. They
amazing.
did the heating and cooling
Mm-hmm.
yesterday, and the electricians are in there today.
That's amazing.
So I'll have that big space
Yeah.
to heal,
To heal people.
to have them come in, because the guy that picked me up to take me to Seth Riggs, the seminar I went to was holodynamics.
Mm.
It was tools to release negative emotion.
Okay.
And the guy, Dr. Vernon Wolf, he was at one time over the religion department and the psychology department for BYU.
Mm.
And he
Okay.
had tools
Yeah.
to clear. And so that's where I met him,
Okay.
this guy. And so that's where I learned these tools to clear negative emotion. So within minutes, I can clear anxiety, depression, jealousy, any negative emotion. I can release that within minutes.
Within minutes.
Within minutes.
And is that part of your, also with your students with the vocal coaching?
You know,
kind of put those hand to hand? Or?
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
I teach a superior vocal training technique that I learned from Seth Riggs,
Yeah.
and a person that he admired. And I thought, you admire another voice teacher? I got to go see who he is.
Yeah, who's that?
That was Richard Miller.
That was Richard Miller.
And he
yeah.
was, at the time, the #1 voice teacher in the world.
Mm.
So I was an associate of Richard Miller for 9 years before he died, and over 20 years with Seth Riggs. So both of those methods, one teach classical, one teach pop.
Mm.
But truth is truth.
Yeah.
And they teach the same thing, and they didn't even know each other. They use different terms,
Right.
but it's the same,
Yeah.
And so, and training the voice by clearing your voice and finding your true voice, by getting rid of all the negative and the obstructions in your voice,
Mm-hmm.
you clear yourself.
Oh, wow.
You find that you find who you truly are.
Okay.
So that is the technique.
Yeah.
But sometimes when people are stuck because of trauma,
Mm-hmm.
and I see that, there's something else happening, I talk to them, and then I clear them.
Ooh.
And when I clear them of their negative emotion, then their voice is able to function better, where I can clear their voice.
Wow. And it's a technique.
It's a vocal technique.
It's a vocal technique.
And it's scientific.
Yeah.
It's
Well, I've watched a few of your YouTube videos on your website of some of your students talking about that. It's fascinating.
Mhm.
Like, it really is. I mean, it's not only you're helping them find their true voice and
Mhm.
sing, but boy, like you just said, you're clearing them of these things that are holding them back.
right. Now let me tell you something. This
Please.
is something I just
Please.
discovered the
Please.
last 2 or 3 months, because as I was clearing one of my students, and this girl, I mean, he had a horrible voice. She could not sing at all. I mean, it was bad.
Yeah.
But as we trained her, I trained her voice and began to clear her voice, and she was very timid, and she'd let people step on her a lot,
Yeah.
And she would say, "Oh, it's okay, it's all right."
Yeah.
She was like that,
Mm-hmm.
and she would hold stuff. And as I cleared her voice, and now she's in fact, 2 months into the program, she says, I'm gonna get in a vocal competition. I'm like, what? And you're gonna bear my name? And you're gonna get it? Oh my gosh, no. Why? Well, I just want to do it. And so I had like a month to really, really work her voice
Really
and get her
hone
voice
her in, yeah.
right, and get her voice clear. So she was able to get in the competition, and she was second runner up in the competition.
No way.
second round.
That's awesome.
And she changed. And that's
Yeah.
what I find. As I clear your voice, you clear,
Yeah.
and you're more solid in who you are. And now she doesn't, oh, it's okay anymore. Now she tells people how she feels.
Right.
And if you step on her toe, she'll say, hey, you just stepped on my toe and it hurts.
Yeah. That
Please
hurt.
don't do that again.
Yeah. Please. Yeah.
Where that's not who she was before.
Right.
But what I
Right.
found is finding your voice, it may not be very pretty. You may not be very pretty.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because of negative emotions and things that have happened in your life
Okay.
that may make you negative.
Mm-hmm.
So I find that then the tracking, like with the holodynamics, getting rid of negative emotion, then you can get rid of that.
Okay.
You can find out who you are, but at your best, because then you release the negative emotion also.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome.
That's what I've just realized. Because I used to just, work
Yeah.
out people's voice, and
Sure.
they become like from little kittens to lioness.
Yeah.
But they may become lioness, but they may not be very nice.
Yeah.
But they're not nice because of other things in their
Yeah.
life that they need to clear.
Yeah. So I would consider you a lioness, but you're nice and kind.
Well, I
Is
sometimes
that
I
true?
wonder. I thought maybe not because because right now what I'm doing is I'm finding voice teachers who are considered prominent voice teachers, are very good voice teachers, and I'm having them come in and work with some of my students so that I can see if they have more tools. I want it,
Right.
and I'll share with them what I have too. And I was complimenting one of the voice teachers, and I said, voice teachers can be a little stuffy. Their
Okay.
nose can go up in the air, and it can be very, they
Yeah.
talk kind of
Yeah.
funny,
Sure.
and and which is really a sign of insecurity, really.
For sure. Absolutely.
So I said, yes, I said, I want you to take a lesson from this lady, and I think she's a very fine voice teacher. She's trained with some of the best in the world,
yeah.
and I want you to take a lesson with.
Yeah.
And and I believe that she has something to offer you.
Yeah.
This is what I said to my student, and the teacher said, "Oh, you're very kind," and I said, "Oh no,
no.
I don't think I'm kind." And I said, Meadow, which was my student, tell her, you know me. You've been with me for
Right.
years. Tell her, am I kind? And she said, you're direct.
Direct. Yeah.
You're honest, which is very kind. That's what she said. I was, oh. She says, because you're honest and you say truth and you tell the
Yeah.
truth,
Yep.
that's very kind, Deborah. I would say yes. Now, I said, wow, I didn't expect that
Yeah. Right.
because I know that I
Yeah.
am very direct.
Yeah. Well, and I agree with that. I agree that is kind, and you are very direct. You speak your mind, and you're not that you're assertive, and I love what you're saying too. Going back to what you do for your clients, not only with their vocal voice and to be able to sing, but I love how you're clearing them of these things that are holding them back in their
Right.
lives, and what a gift that is.
Yes.
I mean, even if they don't become these amazing singers,
Right.
if you've done that for them or helped them get there,
right.
what a gift. They walk
Right.
out of there going, I know how to deal with anxiety now better than I've
Right.
ever
Yeah.
known, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's really neat that you do that.
Yeah. I used to love teaching women, especially in this culture. As I was coming, like 20 years ago, it was really bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
where women were depressed.
Low self-worth.
Yeah,
kind of
because
thing. Yeah,
they give everything to their family.
everything.
They give everything to their children, nothing for themselves. They serve their husbands, and they have nothing for
to
them.
the point of exhaustion, right?
Right, and
yeah.
a point of no self-worth.
Yeah. Just like,
And so a lot of women were like in bed, couldn't get out of their beds to take care of their children. And I would begin to teach them train their voices. And as I train their voices change. Instead of, hi, oh, come, like if they would say, will you please close the door?
Yeah.
Now they have this voice, will you please close the door?
Yeah.
It's different.
Yes.
And people treat them differently. Their voices change.
Well, it kind of demands respect, right?
Right.
Versus doormat. I'm going to walk all over you because you're so kind.
Yeah, and so
No.
such a sweet voice.
Yeah.
Like the primary voice.
Yes, exactly.
And that's not who they are.
No.
A lot of these women, primary women, are not that.
Well, it's like you're bringing out what's, like you said,
who they
really
truly
are.
Right.
I love that. Oh.
And I used to say this to them, and now I know why I used to say it. I used to say, as I train your voice, you're going to have to be kinder. You're going to have to be more gentle.
Yeah.
You're going to have to be nicer, because people are not going to see you the same way.
Right.
Your voice will change.
Yeah.
You will change. You will be more confident in who you are. And so so can you imagine a husband who married this person, and now they're talking like this?
Yeah.
They're saying, well, you don't have to yell at me. Well, I'm not yelling, honey. I'm just telling you.
Just being direct. Just being honest. Yeah, I love it.
But you say you have to be kind. But now I understand they need the tracking.
Yep. Yeah.
So that they can truly be who they truly are.
Yeah.
Which is at a very fundamental state. We are that we might have joy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And joy, goodness brings joy.
Yeah.
That's what brings joy.
For sure.
And so when you get rid of these negative emotions, then you're positive.
Yes. Yeah.
And you'll have joy.
Yeah. Man, it's so
State of being.
State of being. So beautifully said, Debra. Seriously.
Wow.
This is beautiful. You're an amazing woman.
Wow.
You really are.
Well, thank you.
I mean that. I've heard, because we have a mutual friend who talked you up like no other. I've done a lot of research on you. The way people talk, your testimonials of people, where they come in saying, I had anxiety that I couldn't even get out of bed. And then I got to work with Debra, and my life has changed completely. And I love how you're a very faithful woman in the sense that you rely on that as your guide.
Yes.
I respect anyone who lives it, if that makes sense. I don't care if you're Catholic or LDS or if you're Buddhist or whatever it is, but when you truly live it, that's a beautiful thing, and it's pretty rare, actually.
Well, I tell you.
But I admire you for that, is what I'm trying to say.
It brings joy. If people knew the joy that they can have in being one, being whole, being complete.
Yeah.
And what makes and I think that's linked and aligned with your Creator.
Yep.
Then you're one with Him.
Wow. One true voice, right?
One true voice.
Yeah.
Yes.
So beautiful. Well, I want to ask you a question here in closing. If there's someone listening to your voice, your one true voice right now, and they're struggling and they're just having a rough time and they're just not sure what to do. You've already given some great advice already, but what would you tell that one person right now who's just having a hard time?
Okay, this is what I would say. Close your eyes and see yourself in your full potential. The you that knows everything there is to know about you. Your perfected you. Your celestial you. That you may not look like you, but that's okay. It may even come in a form of a butterfly, or it may be a lioness, or it may be you on skis, being pulled by a boat, or an angel. However you sense or see yourself, me in my full potential. Wow. And if you have any questions about your life, what you should be doing, who you are, ask them, and know that the answer you get is the right answer. That's the you that knows what about you. which is connected to that higher power.
Mm.
Just take time and listen.
Mm.
If you want to know about how should I be with my child, David, he just frustrated me. He didn't do blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
What should I say to him? Listen and let that perfected you tell you. And if you want to help your child, put your child at his full potential. And put you in your full potential.
Mm.
And let your full potential talk to your child. Honey, what's wrong? Why are you crying? What can I do to help you? And let your child at his full potential tell you. And then do that.
Wow. Beautifully said. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That was powerful.
It works.
No, I
It's
bet.
real.
No, I can feel it. I can feel your truth there for sure. You know, if someone wants to reach out to you, Debra, and they want to know more about you, or if they want to, you know,
well, I'll say this. Email me.
okay.
I'm not good with online. I'm in the boonies when it comes to that. So email me, Debra, Debra at DebraBonner.com.
Okay.
In fact, I'm going to, like I said, I'm fixing my basement right now so that I can do seminars and heal.
Love it. I love it.
So, yeah, so Debra at DebraBonner.com, or you can call me or text me, 602-301-0406.
Wow. There's your number.
Debra at DebraBonner.com or 602-301-0406. And I can even clear you on the phone.
Wow. That's so awesome.
And then the seminar that I'm going to be doing is going to be starting in February, because by February my basement should be finished.
Should be good to go.
Yeah. You know, get in touch with me.
Yeah.
And let's set you up to be in some of those seminars, and I'll teach you how to do it for yourself and your children.
Okay.
I have 8 children, all 8 children, happy children, progressive, doing well.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And that's something to be said.
Yeah.
A husband and wife, black husband and wife, 8 children, and all are doing very well.
All are thriving.
They're thriving in what they want to do.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
And it's not that I've tracked my kids a lot. I haven't done much tracking with them. Because if you track yourself, it clears your posterity.
Yeah. Wow.
And it clears your upline.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Somehow that happens. Yeah.
No, I believe it. Well, you're an amazing woman. You're very direct. You speak truth. And I really admire the work that you're doing. You really are a light in this world. I'm grateful. You know, I'm so blessed that I get to sit in front of amazing people. And I'm sitting in front of you going, man, I'm so blessed today to hear your story.
How can I serve you? What can I do for you?
You already have. Just you coming to share truth today it's opened up my heart. I'm so excited for our listeners to hear your story. And that in itself is going to be amazing. I'm just grateful that I get to know you.
Well, I hope that we continue.
Let's do this. Yes.
And if there are people that I can help that you know.
Yep, I will.
I'd be glad to.
Absolutely. Yeah. So guys, please reach out to her. She gave her email and her phone number. Her website is yourtruevoice.com. Check that out as well.
It's under construction.
But it's still there, and it's good
there.
stuff. There's good info. But yeah, please send her an email. Ask her a question. She'll help you out any way she can. And I just want to thank all of my listeners, too, for tuning in once again. Please share this with anyone you know who may be struggling, who may be struggling with anxiety or depression or low self-esteem, low self-worth. And Debra's story will not only inspire them, but they can also reach out to her for some help as well. So, Debra, thanks for your time today. I can't thank you enough.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, God bless.
God bless you.
Take care.